Good morning, everyone. Jim Clark here at the Synchronicity Sanctuary in Central Virginia to share a contemplative focus with you again. And the focus that I want to share with you today is I am the creator of my reality. There is one unified consciousness and countless unique expressions of that consciousness. From the vast expanse of universal consciousness where all possibilities and information exist, we shape our individual selves, our own unique expression of consciousness as human beings. This process is the unfolding of our being, our individual expression of the one unified consciousness is what it is, and the events that we experience in our life do not happen to us as much as they happen from us. Both perspectives have their place, and depending on where you're coming from in terms of your own, the balance that you have created or imbalance that you have created, you will see one or the other. And in my own experience here at Synchronicity for all the years I've been here, I have been very challenged and I have been very rewarded from a constant practice of meditation and holistic lifestyle. Now, when I first came here, I was very imbalanced, as most people in this part of the world are, because our society here in the West seems to create a left brain dominance by virtue of our lifestyle and so forth. And left brain is the negative polarity in our polarized field of experience, whereas the right brain is its opposite. So how do you balance this out? How do you shift from the negative to the positive? Now, there's a lot of drugs because it's a big business in the United States, isn't it? Drugs to treat various mental conditions of depression and on and on and on, where people are constantly feeling very bad about themselves and negative about life. And yet, if you stop taking the drug, all you do, you revert right back. So drugs don't seem to actually address the cause. The cause is if you're left brain dominant and you keep reverting to that dominance because it is dominant, negativity is going to be the dominant expression that you have both for the world that you see seemingly outside of yourself and also yourself. You will feel disempowered and challenged in many ways, as I was when I first came here. And it's not that challenges don't still come to me because my process is ongoing. I was asked at one point to be assessed by a psychiatrist, and I was diagnosed as having severe depression, and so I was given some drugs for that. And then I went on to, I took what I was asked to take, but I also was living in this lifestyle where meditation was a daily happening. And after about a year or so, I went back for another diagnosis. And this time, depression was not the diagnosis, it was ADHD. So there had been a shift and a change in my own mental workings here. And the only difference was I was living in an environment where meditation and holistic lifestyle was a daily happening. And so what my attention was brought to here is that as I meditated and went deeper and deeper into myself and became more and more positive in my experience of myself and my world, my brain simply reflected those changes. And this was due to the fact that I meditated every day, at least twice a day. And I still do, because when I meditate, my serotonin levels go out the roof and I feel blissful and joyful. And even after, say, a sitting meditation, this does not go away. As I'm speaking, I feel the reverberations of positivity and celebration. And it's not because I'm better than anybody, it's just because I have shifted to a right brain dominance, whereas I started out with left brain dominance, which is the normal here because we in this part of the world we have a model of success, a model of self-worth that most people simply can't live up to, and that's the model of wealth and superiority at some point, and being very intelligent as well, well informed. But many people just can't go there because their lives aren't taking them there. And if you don't measure up to the model that you grew up with, then unconsciously we are at odds with ourselves because we're not measuring up, you might say. And this is normally a very unconscious happening, as meditation will also reveal. There's so much data that we carry that is negative towards ourselves. We disempower ourselves from this and project it outward onto the world outside. So from an egocentric perspective that is limited in its awareness, events do happen to us. We are the victims of the happenings that are happening all the time outside of our so-called self. And yet, from the perspective of awareness, expanded awareness, we are creating whatever we create in the world, and we are at choice. We can have a loving world, a world that we can celebrate ourselves in, or we can have a world that is unconscious and depressing. But we're at choice, and so of course, who would choose something that's depressing if you have a choice to be joyful and loving? But it seems to be a hard choice for people to make, especially in these days. We're so busy being critical and judgmental and trying to change the world to be better, and yet we're not changing ourselves to be better. We're not changing ourselves to be more loving and more forgiving and more aware of the possibilities of positive expression and a positive lifestyle. So it really boils down to the simple demonstration that I have lived, and that is, irregardless of where you begin, if you start to meditate, if you get a meditation that is powerful and consistent, and you use it with consistency and dedication, that progressive shift from the negative to the positive will happen. It's not easy and it can be very challenging, and yet if you're left brain dominant and negativity is the dominant experience you're having, that's very challenging. It may be normal to you. It may be something that you have learned to deal with in one way or another, and yet if you're not aware of the possibilities of its opposite, as I was not for many years of my life, that's the normal, and you just live it, you accept it, and you don't question that. That's reality that's happening to you, and that defines who you are. And so people who don't question the context of their life and how their life is unfolding for them usually don't change, because unless they go to a psychiatrist and take a drug, and they'll experience a change, but that change is due to the drug, and it's not because of the fact that they have gone inside themselves and seen the source of their negativity and shifted it to the positive out of their own choice. And those kind of changes don't just disappear. I mean, if I stopped meditating, if I stopped the practice, sure, there would be a gradual diminishment of the level of awareness and consequent loving experience I have, the celebration of life that I have on a daily basis would be gradually decreased somewhat, but it would be a lot more stable than relying on an outside source of happiness in any shape or form. And so this is what this is about. It's I am the creator of my reality. Most people will deny this. Most people don't like to hear that because their egocentric dominance in their experience doesn't see reality that way. Their reality is that events are happening to them, and for better or worse, they're the victims of it. They don't control it as much as they would like to. We all have control issues as we grow up in this part of the world because that's how we see the world happening to us. Events happen and they affect us, and we just would like to be able to control that. Well, we can, we just don't believe that it's possible because we haven't had the opportunity to develop that possibility in ourselves. But if you grab the reins of your mind, if you meditate every day, especially with high-tech meditation, it's very effective and it's consistently effective because of the technologies that are embedded in our soundtracks. Meditation happens no matter what you're doing. If you're thinking, if you're fidgety, if you're in a bad mood, doesn't matter. It works. And what happens because it works is that the source of your problems, which are inside yourself, will surface to be relinquished. This is known as the fivefold process that we have here, and the clearing process, where the negativity comes up, you counter that negativity with a positive conscious response to yourself, and eventually it's gone. It's replaced. You're reprogramming yourself, and you're shifting from a left brain dominance to a right brain dominance. And once you establish that with consistency, then your meditations just take you deeper and deeper into the endless bliss that's available to you if you pursue this, if you live a lifestyle where that is your primary value that you hold as the most important in your life. Now, when I first started meditating, I was a mess, of course. I was a product of my culture, just like most of us are, and I was very negative. I didn't even realize how negative I was. But looking back on it, I was definitely a mess, and I was so negative and yet blind to my negativity. I was judgmental, so forth and so on, just like so many of us are. And nothing seemed to work. I did my experiments when I was young with drugs and stuff, and for a while I would feel very blissful and happy and so forth, but it was conditional. And once the drugs wore off, I wasn't happy anymore. Not like I was when I was experiencing that temporary, externally induced euphoria. So, but here again is a human desire that we all have. We all want to feel blissful, and nobody, you can't tell people not to want to feel blissful. We know in ourselves, no matter what our state of mind is, that we would rather be loving and happy and blissful every day. We want a world that's like that, and yet we don't seem to be aware enough to look around and see why our environment, why our culture makes it so difficult for us to create that for ourselves, because we don't go into the source of our experience. The source of our experience is ourselves as we create our reality from the data that we hold on to. the unconscious and subconscious data that we're not even aware of. That's why it's hard to believe or accept this idea of I create my reality, because we don't see the source of its happening. We have not grasped the mechanics of how that comes into our experience as human beings. And until we do, we're not at choice, and our negativity is ruling our life. And so the only answer I have for that is meditate, 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 which my teacher told us daily. Said that's, you put that as a primary value in your life, and it will take you where you want to go. And you will encounter your negativity along the way. But in this environment that I live in here at the sanctuary, we knew that that was happening, and we had a structure for dealing with that so that we could consciously reprogram ourselves. We could take our negativity and counter it with a positive affirmation or so forth, whatever technique worked for us. And sure enough, after about a year and a half or so, when I was taking drugs for depression and so forth, I was finally taking off all my medications, and I've never been diagnosed with anything like that since. So meditation works. It brings balance to the brain. The two hemispheres are balanced, and then it starts to shift towards a dominant positive from that balance if you keep meditating, because meditation, our meditation anyway, always accentuates the positive. And if you constantly bring that into your mental dimension, you'll replace the negative belief systems that are still creating negative experiences for you to the positive. So I am the creator of my reality, and I choose to create bliss and happiness and love in myself. If you can't love yourself, you can't love anything else. So that's where the change has to come, and you do it through a lifestyle of meditation and holistic lifestyle. Simple message, and yet very difficult to take on, and even more difficult to live. So that's what I wanted to share with you today, and I invite you, if you're new here or not meditating, and especially with our system, which is so effective, to give it a shot, give it a try, and see what you can do for yourself. So I bid you adieu until I see you, I believe, next Monday. I will be back again with another sharing to share with you. Thank you so much.